I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is Monday, December 2nd at 5:30. I'm calling to order the Middleton School Committee meeting. As a reminder, this meeting is recorded. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I am not seeing any remarks from the public, so we will move on to approval of meeting minutes, which can be found in the drive. It says preliminary, but are those final?
Yeah, we have the 11-4. That's just how Olivia does it, so they are final. And then,
Are you taking the minutes for tonight?
ooh,
I just realized she's not
we
here.
will have Colleen do it from the video.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll send an email to try to figure it out.
And I'm still having that computer issue from last time, so I'll just log in on my phone.
Julie's here, she might be able to help.
Oh, awesome. Wow. Thank you. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second them. Natasha, do you want to look at mine?
Yeah, if you don't mind, let me just have a quick, I'm sure they're correct, but.
Can you just make sure that my name is spelled right here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Which one is that from? 11-4?
Yeah.
Yep.
And the other one's over there too.
Oh, thank you.
Colleen, I'll email her.
Oh, it is sensitive. Oh my gosh. All right, can I just use it first?
You want to go down?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, that looks good. I can't listen. Can you be my mouse? Yep. Oh, that was the Zoom.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yes. Awesome. Okay. It is. I think I know what that is. Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry. So yes, I'm ready to vote.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes from November 4th, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, and then there's a second set from 11-14.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion. Well, actually, I wasn't there.
You still can.
You still can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from 11-14.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes from November 14th, say aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, moving on. Jackie, did you have any other reports from CPAC?
No, nothing as of right now.
Okay. All right. Okay, so moving on. Hello.
Hi, how are you? Good evening, everyone. Hope you had a good holiday. Nice to see you all back
You
here.
too.
We're in a tight squeeze between now and Christmas, for sure, in the break. It's tighter than normal, right? It's 15 days as opposed to 20. So it'll be a tight squeeze from Thanksgiving to the winter break. And I was looking at the calendar for the next 2 years, and it's interesting, Thanksgiving is the fourth week in November in 25 and the fourth week in November in 26. I don't know why, but we'll have these sort of tight windows for the next couple of years as well. So a few updates from me. I want to thank the Middleton School Committee for kicking us off. As you may recall, we brought to the committee this idea of having a review of our business office, just to try to figure out if we can be more efficient. That was sort of the result of the regionalization work. Middleton was the first in a series of 3 meetings that month. We had Middleton, and then we had Topsfield, and we had Boxford. And we appreciated Middleton's support in that. Same happened in Topsfield, same happened in Boxford. So we've been able to move forward with that review with E&S Development Group. And so we got this actually just came in today. I need to read it more fully. Steve and I need to go through it. But the scope of work for the review of the business office, job role and function analysis, to assess and analyze all the current roles and functions within the business office, review of job descriptions, to evaluate descriptions for accuracy and relevance, process and procedure improvement, conduct a desk audit, and develop a plan aimed at enhancing process and procedure efficiency within the office, interdepartmental communication, interview municipal and school departments to department employees to identify opportunities for improving data transfer, procedures and communication, thereby fostering better collaboration, and then training and support for budget management for principals, curriculum leaders, and administrative support staff if it's identified as a need. And so we're looking forward to this. As I said to the committee last time, I think we were most excited about this is that this particular organization wanted to talk to all of our town hall partners. As I said before, we work with 3 different town halls, a little bit of a different flavor of ice cream with all 3 town halls. And so, again, as we just try to think about how we can become more efficient and effective in our operation, we're excited about this review. So, Steve, you and I need to, I know we haven't had a chance to connect today, but he and I will go through this contract. We have a meeting with the consultant, I believe, on December 11th as a kickoff meeting to get things moving in that direction. Her goal is to be kind of buttoned up by, I think, March of this school year. So we'll have something that we can report to you guys in the spring in terms of her findings on ways that we may be able to improve efficiencies within the Tri-Town School Union when we think about business office and HR and all those different pieces to try to figure out a way to make us more efficient. So I just, again, want to thank the Middleton School Committee for starting that process off when we last met. Second item, a fun item in the drive, you will see a document with Howie wearing headphones. And so I cut and pasted that from Magic 106.7. And so Howie and Principal Bryson were on Morning Magic. And it looks adorable in those headphones. That was actually over in Jeff's office, I believe, the headphones.
Yeah.
Sue and Kendra talked with him about their comfort dog Howie. And so, Jeff, if you want to add a little bit more to that, seeing that you were the one that was interviewed, but I just wanted to highlight it that I think it's pretty cool. This is the 2nd or 3rd time that this program, right? Remember we wrote the policy, Howie policy a couple of years back and everything else that, Jeff was on Channel 4 with Howie, and now we had this opportunity, and I'm hearing from staff in other schools that they would like to start to figure out how do we get a Howie at our school again. I would love it if we could make this a thing in all public schools across the state, to be perfectly honest with you, because I've seen the great work that Howie does. But Jeff, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, they just, Kendra had reached out to me a couple weeks ago, asked if we'd be willing to come on. So one Thursday morning, driving into work, we just called in about 5 or so minutes on the air. And they just asked about how we got Howie, why we got him, what he does all day long. And so I gave the stump speech on all of the great things that he does and how we ended up with him and the process, and that was about it. So we didn't get to go into the studio, we just called in. But we'll see. I'm sure they would like to have him in the studio as well one day, so we'll see if we can get that to happen. But I will go anywhere, anytime, any location, any medium to talk about all the great things he does. So
I love the one comment on that little screenshot that I took. Someone wrote, "I'm in love with Howie."
Yeah.
So.
Did he get to bark on air? I haven't listened to it.
No.
I was going to ask the same thing.
He was dead asleep in the back seat.
Does he bark?
He
Never
has
heard
once or
him.
twice, but yeah.
So the link to the podcast, or to the, whatever you want to call it, the interview, I guess is probably the better word, is on the bottom if you want to ever click on that. It's about 10 minutes, Jeff, 8 minutes or so.
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
not long. You got to get through a bunch of
Commercials.
commercials.
Yeah.
but-
So that is on there. And again, it's just been exciting to see how that has developed. And again, I love when I'm over at Hal Manning in the morning and I see Howie literally laying in front of like Terry's desk area. Just every child that walks by pats and loves and hugs and all these things, and Howie's just sitting there. Like, you think most dogs would be, with that many kids, like crazy, like running around, tail wagging, jumping up on people, and he's just so chill. And it's just the personality of Howie is a perfect match for what we need him to do for our kids. So Good news there.
Mr. Greenberg's not happy with him tonight.
No, he knows where to go. He knows where to go. Steve will hear this tomorrow in the office, trust me. I'll let him. Yeah. And then just the last item for me, and Julie and I, Julie Kelly, our Director of Educational Technology, is here. I appreciate her being here tonight. Just kind of tag team a little bit on some safety things. Obviously, that's always front of mind in the work that we do. I have tremendous gratitude for our public safety partners. You've heard me say this before, across all 3 towns. Julie and her team have been working a lot on the cyber end of things as it relates to safety, and then we've been working, we've been trying to go around to the different town halls and talk about some of the work that we've been doing in the schools. And whenever we talk about safety publicly, we tend to be a little bit more, don't get into a ton of details, obviously, because we want to make sure that we maintain that safe environment. But just from like a 10,000-foot view, things that we do as it relates to safety with our schools. We have MOUs with a number of evacuation sites at each of the schools that we work with local partners and develop MOUs that if we ever had to leave our buildings, we would have a place to go. And that's something that the principals are involved in as well. We have an MOU, I think I've told the committee before, we worked on this a few years back, and it's a very in-depth MOU with Essex Tech for buses, in the event we ever need buses to move kids from one location to another. Obviously, we would call it NRT, but it's a little bit tricky with NRT because they don't necessarily drive all day long. Someone might be not in a bus, where at Essex Tech, we have people with CDL licenses and a fleet of buses that we worked out with their superintendent that we have that. We've done a lot around what's called the A, B, C, and D sides of the building. This is very much a public safety sort of methodology that they use, and I guess the best way to think about it is your approach to the school is the A side of the building, and then clockwise around B, C, and D. So let's take Howe Manning, for example. It'd be very easy to figure out the A side of that building, when you think of like the approach to that building is the A side of the building. And then you have the B side, the C side, and the D side as you go around in a clockwise direction. And the reason it's good for schools to use this language, and it's not really used in schools, and we're trying to get more of this across school settings, is for teachers to get familiar with this as well. So if they ever had a situation or emergency where they had to call public safety, I'm on the B side of the building. You've just narrowed down 75% of the building. You eliminated 75% of the building for public safety who's arriving. We have had further conversations around this where we want to start to label our doors. Right now, when you walk in the door of this building, it's 1, right? Well, we think it should say A1 or B1. I forget what side that is for us on Howe Manning. But we want the letter and the number to be on the door. So if it's door 5 on this side of the building and that's the B side of the building, I said to the police and fire, I think it would be logical for us to label that door B5. So now, again, you know exactly where it is. And then by the same token, we've had conversations around, and this is not something that you typically see in public schools, and I don't know why, and I hope it happens more often, the inside of the door should be labeled. Because a teacher, a staff member in a moment of a crisis, you're not going to know what door you're at, right? But if I want to be able to look up and go, I'm at B5. You might not even know what B5 means, but police and fire will know what B5 means. As we've said before, you lose IQ points when you are in an anxious situation, like if you've ever lost your phone and you can't find it because you're like, oh my God, where's my phone? Where did I leave my phone? And you're literally losing IQ points as that event goes on. And so the more that we can eliminate that from happening. So we're working closely with our facilities department, and you'll see at some point, we're trying to come a very uniform way across all 6 districts, same letter, same number. Can see it, it's light reflective and all those things. So that's something that we're working on as well. Our camera projects are working on those, finishing those, I should say. We had a good training the other day. All 6 schools are now on the same system, which is fabulous. Our public safety partners have worked with us on that. Access control at Howe Manning, for those of you that have been on the committee a while, you may recall that when Howe Manning was built, it had a much different access control system, right? So the little key fob that I have on my keychain that would get me into 5 schools, I'd pull up to Howe Manning and go, I got to go get my card, because it was a different system. So that was another thing that we worked on to make sure that all 6 schools were able to access with the key fob. We've worked closely with Masco on that as well. Thinking that we might be able to help them in a situation, they might be able to help us in a situation, and so we have the ability also to access Masco. Masco has the ability to access our buildings, leadership and people like that. And the same for police and fire, really just trying to make it easy for them. So if they had to go to, if a Topsfield police person had to show up to Howe Manning, they can get into Howe Manning, right? And that's what we want. We want our public safety partners to have that sort of level of interdepartmental cooperation. We've also been working on what's called incident command, and incident command is just, in the event there was ever some type of emergency in the building that we had to evacuate the kids, there was a gas leak or there was something like that, like where would they go and where would we send the kids to, and if we had to close a street down, what street would we close down? So it's just trying to think about all of these things ahead of time. And then, as you guys know, again, relationship mapping, we always try to think of like the root cause, like let's get ahead of this whole thing, and let's do, and Jeff and Jen and their teams do a tremendous job of the relationship mapping piece and making sure that every child has adults connected to them. And, when you do that mapping, if there's a child that has just sort of slipped through and they don't have many adults connected to them, they make sure that adults are connected to all of our kids, and there are those relationships, so there isn't somebody that's just sort of feeling a little bit lost at school. That's something that's very, very important to us. And then just a final thing, as you know, I sit on NERAC, and NERAC is the Homeland Security Council for the Northeast region. I'm one of 2 public school reps with folks from public safety and public health and MEMA and FEMA and all the different organizations. And that's an enlightening group to sit and be a part of. But next April, it's the 250th anniversary of the start of the American Revolution. So Concord and Lexington are doing a massive celebration of this. So big that most likely there'll be dignitaries there, potential presidents, royal family people could be there. Quite a security endeavor, as you can well imagine. I think they're having lots of conversations about this there. It's just a fascinating weekend. So 4/19 is a Saturday, and that's the first Saturday of April vacation week. And that's a full day of events and dignitaries and the reenactment of the Lexington Green and all of that. That Sunday, 4/20, is Easter, Greek Easter, and the last day of Passover. And then 4/21 is the Boston Marathon. So it is a very, very heavily laden, good weekend to be somewhere else other than Lexington and Concord, I think. So it's a very, very busy weekend for sure, and Boston as well, right, with the marathon. And so it's just been interesting to sit in on those meetings and hear all of that planning and things like that. But just good for us to be aware of some of the things that are happening, really across the state. And again, I value that I have the ability to sit on that NERAC committee and really work closely with public safety and just try to think about, how we can make our schools welcoming places and safe places at the same time. And that's just an ongoing endeavor that we always try to do. And then married to that, obviously, there's sort of our schools, but then there's also the cyber end of things. And so Julie's going to take you through. If you go into the drive, you'll see a couple of slides that read TTU technology. And this is an overview of the work that Julie and her team do around cybersecurity and cyber safety, because that's another big component of this, right? The cyber piece has become more and more, and you'll see some of the headlines in here. So Julie, I'll turn it over to you if everyone's got it open in front of you. And if you can just call the slide numbers as you go through them, that'd be great.
So the first slide that has the map, that is from K-12-6, which is a nonprofit that tracks and helps with cyber incidents that happen at schools, K-12 only. They're a really great organization. This map is cyber incidents that happened between 2016 and 2022. And there's more than 1,600 events between ransomware and phishing and DDoS attacks. So, I like to occasionally look at that because I'm like, whew, it's everywhere. We have to just be careful. So I always like to show that map, even though it's a little bit scary. And it's a reminder of, why we do all of the things that we do. Because sometimes, if getting to a technology is a little bit slow, you're like, okay, but I'm just making sure it's safe first before we do anything. So on the next slide, it's why schools, right? So it used to be just businesses that were being targeted and government agencies that were being targeted, but now really the biggest uptick is in schools. So it's data. We have concentrated data for students and staff, and it's all kind of in one place in a nice, neat package, so that's why schools are targeted. You have student information, you have testing information, you have parent information, you have staff information. So we just want to make sure that none of that goes anywhere that it's not supposed to go. Cost, schools and towns don't have a lot of money in general, and they don't generally have a lot of money to say, oh, if something terrible happens someday, we will wish we spent the money but they don't. But we are very fortunate here that we have support from all of our committees to make sure that we do all the things we can to keep everybody safe. But that's usually why schools are being targeted. Between all of the data that we have and then all of the, many schools don't have support of their committees, or they don't have support from their, not that they don't have support, but they don't have the connection that we have to all of their fire and safety and all of the partners that we have, that not everybody is fortunate enough to work so closely together. Usage, schools were online all day, every day. That's where all of our data lives, so that's another reason we're a target. And then training. More than 90% of successful cyber attacks start with a phishing email. So it's that training to have your spidey senses say, ooh, does that look real? That seems a little odd. Why is this person sending me this kind of an email? Because very often somebody will get hacked and their account is sending an email. So it looks legitimate because it's really coming from them. But then you have to wonder, why would they send me a bonus check? That's one of the phishing that we got. Bonus check attached. And it went to a link that asked, to get your bonus check, fill out your username and password. So thankfully, we have some things in place to stop that. And we have training to help people catch it and send it along first and have us check it, because that's what I'd rather do. I'd rather check 1,000 emails that are legitimate than have somebody click one before that.
Or some of the ones, Julie, that were like Scott Morrison is sending you a request
Yes.
for your routing information.
Yep, so-
or payroll or.
Jeff has sent the bonus check. It was not Jeff's account.
Nice.
His account was not hacked, but it was from a different person in a different school district. I think it was Iowa or Illinois. Their account got hacked, and they see our email lists on our website, which we're working on that too. That's coming up. But they look at the school and they're like, oh, Jeff is the principal. And then they grab that list of emails and they send a phishing email, and it looks like a Google link. It says, Jeff shared a file with you. And then when you click it, it says, please enter your information to gain access. And once you put your username and password, they have it. And then they try to log in. Now, thankfully, we have multi-factor authentication for all staff accounts. So if somebody tries to log in, you'll get a text on your phone and you're like, I didn't log in. So that is one way to stop people. Just like in any kind of emergency situation, if they have trouble getting into your account, they're going to move on to the next account. So we just have to kind of delay them, because then they'll move on. Scott sent several emails, not Scott, but they find the leader in the school, either principal, superintendent, and then they grab the list of emails. We have a new website coming. It's in process. These things take time, but our email lists, which are currently just on the website, will no longer be there. It'll be a contact. It'll go directly to the person, so you're not being routed through just the main office or anything. But no one will be able to copy and paste the list of email addresses anymore. Coming shortly.
As part of the training, do you ever send out a test phishing email to see
So that comes from this coming year, we're applying for our third round of cybersecurity training through the state, because they provide that as a grant, and they do those phishing tests.
Oh, okay.
So anybody who's enrolled in that, they send out emails. We have to whitelist the addresses, but if they send it out and you click it, it pops up a little graphic that says, you've been phished, here's where to go and what to look for so that you don't do it again, right?
Okay.
So that next slide has just a few recent-ish, within the last year, headlines from schools that have been ransomwared or phished recently. It's very scary, and we are doing the very best we can to make sure that that does not happen to us.
So why do schools have to close because of an attack?
Because they can't, everything is tied to the internet, essentially. If you can't get into any of your accounts, you can't take attendance, you can't contact parents. There's a safety issue on that side too.
Okay.
If all of your systems are down, you can't serve lunch, you can't, there's a lot of, we feel like nothing is 100%. We have very robust backups, that are off-site.
Yeah.
And completely separate from everything else. So, I hate to say I'm confident, but I feel pretty good about we'd be able to get up and running fast. The flip side of that, though, is once they have your data, they have your data. So the stopping of the data is the biggest piece that you want to do. Because, you can pay the ransom and they'll give you a key and you can get access to it again, but you're still out that information. They still have it.
Yep.
They're not going to just destroy it because you said, thank you, here's your money. They're just going to sell it to somebody else too. So then they get double money. On the next one, so these are the things that we're working on. We have updated Wi-Fi, sorry. I know that was kind of a pain in the neck. We also just installed a brand new upgraded firewall, which keeps things out and keeps things in as well. So it does map traffic going in and out. There were a few little hiccups with that, things getting blocked that we had open before. But we'll work through that. If something's blocked, you just have to let us know and we can get it fixed. We have, so the only devices that are on our internal network are school devices. Personal devices, we set up a separate Wi-Fi for that that's not connected to our internal systems. Because, I have, for devices, I have endpoint protection now on all staff devices, which is great, but I don't have it on your personal Mac, and I don't know what you're going to bring in when you connect to our network when you come in. So we have upgraded, really great new endpoint protection that's being rolled out last week and this week. It's coming for all staff devices, Macs PCs, doesn't matter what you're on. We have the training grant that we will apply for again, that the application just went up, which will be training for anybody who wants to have the cyber training. I know Scott did it the first year that we did it. It's quick little, here, watch this 2-minute video and answer these couple of questions. It's really quick, but it's really great. It's easy to do, and you get it in little chunks, like every other week or something. They send you a little email. It's through KnowBe4, which is great. We can see who did it and who didn't do it, so we can remind people, like, hey, saw that you didn't do your cyber training this week. We also have the cyber grant that we got last year. It was paused because FEMA was busy. So they couldn't get our contracts out, but that we're going to be working on incident response. So as soon as, and we just got an update this week, it should be very soon. But with that, that was a $47,000 grant that we received, and we just received notice that we have an additional $11,000 in matching funds from the state for that purpose. So that's exciting. That should kick off very soon. She said they're working on it. I just heard another update. So
Is
end
that
of
just
this
for
week.
Middleton or the Tri-Town?
No, that's Tri-Town.
Okay.
So it's the 47 plus the 11 for all of us. And then for tech use, during COVID, when everybody went home and people were scrambling to try to learn how to work online, it was kind of the Wild West of apps and websites and what can we do to keep our kids engaged and how can we do this the most efficient way. We belong to the SDPC, which is the Student Data Privacy Consortium, and they are they do like the back end work to get data privacy agreements from any company that we use. So if somebody comes in and says, hey, I just found this really great app and it's so cool, well, great, let me look at it and make sure that we can get a signed data privacy agreement. Because honestly, what people put on their websites, so any company can say, we value your privacy, here's our privacy agreement, but they can also change it tomorrow and not notify anybody. Where the SDPC goes and has a Massachusetts-specific data privacy agreement, and it's legally binding. So they can't just say, oh, actually, we're going to sell your data, because that's not allowed. Now, do things happen? They do, and things change. Companies decide that they will sign it, and then the next year they're like, no, we really want that advertising money or whatever, and then they remove it, and then we have to turn it off. That doesn't happen very often because those businesses want our business, but there are some that we've had to turn off because they refuse to sign. So we have a nice process in place right now where staff reaches out. It should only hopefully take us about a week to really vet it and make sure that it's good, and then whitelist it so that they're able to use it.
Does that agreement get renewed every year? Is it just-
Most companies sign, I think it's a 3-year agreement, and then we renew it at the end of whatever the time is. There's a pool of those agreements, so I don't have to go to every company and get it.
Yeah.
I go through the consortium and I'm like, hey, do you have a whatever we're using, Raz Kids agreement? And they're like, yes, we do. We can put our name on it and use it. On the next slide, along with the training, so we have the grant, we have multi-factor authentication for staff devices. But this year, I thank the principals greatly that every staff meeting, I have a couple of minutes so we can do a quick, I have everybody in the room, here's what not to click on. Here's what some phishing things look like. Here are the ones that came in this week, because it's an almost weekly occurrence that we get something that's a little bit fishy. So those are just 2 slides from our monthly staff slide deck. It's 3 or 4 slides usually. And I can, it's not always me because they're always on Mondays. So I can only be in one place at a time, but we have the digital learning specialists who can run the slides, or sometimes it's Ryan, whoever is available for that day. And so we're able to get to all the staff at least once a month with quick reminders, besides, emails that we also do. So I think that's it for slides, except for the thank you so much, because we can't do this without the support of the committees. So, do you have questions?
No, I think this is great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My computer doesn't work.
Okay.
You can look on with me, but.
All right, moving on to the financial report.
Good evening, everyone. Included in the drive is the financial report for the month of December. Really nothing extraordinary to report at this time. All things are moving along as expected. We are going through a staffing transition at central office, so you may see some variances in there, but it's all about timing and postings. There's not anything of concern at this point in time. So I'll stop talking and answer any questions the committee may have.
How are you liking the new budgeting software?
Good. So, the first step is really getting all of the salaries anchored in, so that's done. And so now we'll really start cranking into it over the next few weeks. But we're really busy, like everybody, right, Jeff? Really busy right now. So, no, but really looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to really diving into the budget the document where you actually write the budget, so because that's what would be different.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. Very good. Okay, no. Report from the principals.
I'll go first. I'll be brief. Our November staff meeting, we started the process of the relationship mapping. We did the teacher end of it. We do the student end later in the year. It went well, and I'm happy to report that there were a lot of check marks all over the place. I think Scott has explained kind of the process before, where we have each classroom on a spreadsheet with each student's name. I know them by face. I know their academic record. I know something about them outside of school. And we just have the staff go to each list and check off each of the spots that they know about that child. We didn't have anybody with with no check marks, and all of them had multiple check marks. And in some cases, I mean, as typical for us, third grade will have the fewest, sixth grade will have the most. They actually, sixth grade, most of them run off the page because they've been there for 4 years, so obviously they've made more connections through third, fourth, and fifth grade as well. Today was the end of the clothing drive, our annual clothing drive. The boxes are still there, so if people have stuff and they want to bring it tomorrow, the Rileys will be picking up the box tomorrow. So if you want to get some stuff in last minute, you can do that. The Howie store is open. We use so on and so forth. Everything goes through them. But we have a new design this year with Howie's actual picture on it, and we still have the original paw print one, but now we have his actual picture on some stuff as well. Those orders need to be in by tomorrow to guarantee Christmas delivery, but it's still, if you don't want it for Christmas, you can order whenever you want. From there,
When's Howie's birthday?
Howie's birthday's not until June.
Okay. And how
June
old is he in
5th.
June?
He'll be 3 in June. Yeah. You planning something?
Yeah.
Okay. And then last are, oh no, I'm sorry, 2 more things. Our Wear It Wednesdays, our Spirit Week start this Wednesday. We have, this Wednesday, it's wear your favorite sports team. The 11th is, hold on, sorry. The 11th is Decades Day, so dress for your favorite decades. I'll be going as the 80s again, so I can peg my jeans and wear my Letterman's jacket. And then the 18th is Color Day, where each grade level is assigned a color to wear those colors that day. And then last, our book fair starts the week of December 9th in the library. That'll be during their, there'll be a schedule that goes out for that. And I think that is it for December.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Good evening. It was funny when I reflected to try to write a few notes for tonight. I was like, November was a very short month.
Yeah, well, our meeting was later in the month for
Because I
November.
met with
Yeah.
Scott this morning, I'm like, did we just meet? I feel like I don't have anything to tell anybody, but then I thought about it and I did, so that's good. So our PD half days on the Fridays, there's been a focus for the teachers as of late on math, which is, it's a little bit of a nice shift, right? We've done so much with reading, and we're going to go back to reading in the spring. But the teachers have really appreciated working with our coordinator, Kira, who's wonderful, and really working on enhancing their math instruction. So that's been some of the time that's been as of late. I think this Friday coming up, they're actually going to have grade level time to actually start putting into practice some of the things that they've been learning and work and plan together. So that's been great. Our last faculty meeting, I might have mentioned this at our last school committee meeting. Our EL teachers did a presentation for the staff, which was really helpful because we now have 25 English language learner students in the school as opposed to 3 years ago when I came. So they taught the staff about sort of the regulations, the changes that have happened, the minutes that are expected based on the levels the kids are at. They walked them through something that I think was probably the most helpful. When they give the WIDA assessment to the EL students, there's something that you get that they call them the can-do descriptors. And it's basically based on the level of the student, their proficiency level. It's like a rubric that shows what the student can do, which as a classroom teacher is a very helpful tool, because if you're not, we've all been SCI endorsed, we've had that kind of training, but if you can actually think about, the student in front of you, you look at the score and now you can look at the rubric and here's the can-do, you sort of know what the access point is for that student and how you can help them but extend them a bit. So I think that was incredibly helpful to not only learn about what that documented is, but some of the teachers have reached out to the EL teachers and said, I'd love to meet and actually go over it with you, because I think that's going to help me know the student as a learner even better. So we're clearly going to continue work in that area. So Lexia is an online tool that is coming to Middleton. Julie's hit it here. I think they have it in Topsfield. It's sort of along the lines of phonics. It's an online tool that teachers could use potentially during the reading block, but during center time. So you allocate 15 minutes, and it's actually one of the stations the kids would go to. But what's nice about it is I got to observe in second grade today. Deidre, our digital learning specialist, and Emily Fry, the ELA coordinator, were in there. The very first thing, once the children learn how to log in, is it's an assessment that they give the kids. And then it sort of benchmarks where they're at in their learning, because and every time the student logs in, it's going to take them from where they're at, kind of like those can-do things I said. So it's always going to keep growing based on the student's growth. And the nice thing about this tool is the teachers will be able to see all of this data and sort of ascertain where the kids are at, how much they're working, really be able to look at the back end and pay attention to it. And so second grade was introduced to it today. And I know the other grades are going to be going in and getting the kids all set up, and then teachers are going to learn about it on Monday at our faculty meeting, because now they're going to learn how to use this so that they can start accessing it pretty much right away. So we're excited about that. I can keep you posted. And then lastly, December 14th, a year ago, the PTO and the rec department in Middleton hosted a student-led holiday bazaar. It's a very cool concept. It's all done by kids. So if, your kids are into making bracelets or, whatever kids might like to make, they can set up their own table, kind of like a craft fair that adults would do, but it's all student-led. I think Katie Nasser is bringing a group of kids over that they're doing something. The rec department has some cool things going on in one of the rooms in the cafeteria. The student-led stuff will be in the gym. I keep think Santa comes and they take pictures. Say that quietly. And this year I met with a dad today whose daughter is in a rock band. 3 kids. They're going to perform in the lobby. Picture, like 4th grade rock band, but how cool that these kids have an opportunity. So the entire thing is student generated. And it's on December 14th, sponsored by PTO Rec Department. It's called the Student Holiday Bazaar. I think it's basically 9 to, maybe noon. And it's really exciting. It went so well that I think it took off even more this year. So if that's something that interests you, or if you even want to just stop by and see what it looks like, it'll be in this wing, the gym, the cafeteria, and the rock band in the front lobby. So here you go. So that is it.
We attended it last year, it was good. My
Yeah.
daughters had a stand.
Let's see,
last
what
year.
were they selling?
Yeah, they did bracelets.
Bracelets.
Yeah, they made a
Kids
bunch of
love it.
bracelets.
Well,
Kids
and
love
the
it.
other thing, if
Good.
kids have a little bit of money and maybe they want to do their own holiday shopping and feel that experience of being able to give something, kids like to be able to give a gift and they don't really have access to good stores, It's kind of a cool way for them to be able to maybe buy mom a bracelet or something like that, so cute. And I'm glad it took off because they worked hard on it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, looks like we have a gift.
Yes, Ray Gooley was at Howe Manning a couple weeks ago for his annual electric safety talk with 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And every year, Ray and Middleton Electric are generous enough to donate $500 to our science education. Ray is the only one I've ever met that pays us to come and do a presentation, which is great. But it is a check for $500. We typically use it for consumables in science education. So I would need a motion for us to accept that.
Okay. I'll make a motion to accept the $500 donation for science education from Ray Gooley.
I will second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? Okay.
you.
Thank you again, Ray.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, the roofing project from the MSBCA.
Yeah.
BA.
MSBA, yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a kickoff meeting with MSBA. There's a bunch of paperwork that I have here in front of me. The bottom line is this document here, which is called an initial compliance certificate. The town administrator and I need to go through this and make sure that all 30 5 things that are on here that we are in compliance, 34 things that we're in compliance with. And it's things, like, we'll only spend the money on the roof, and, things that are, fairly general, I would say. The district acknowledges that within 14 months of the date upon the Board of Directors votes, that you fulfill the obligations that are required. So it's agreeing to the stipulations to be part of their program, so we need to go through that. They have a terms and conditions document that we had the opportunity to go through. They had their sort of welcome letter that you can tell I've had a chance to read through all these things. I think one of the important pieces to notice on the welcome letter, and we had a conversation with the town administrator on this as well, the invitation for the partial roof replacement is limited to roof section A, as described by the district in its statement of interest for the full metal roof. The replacement of roof section B is not included in the invitation. And so what we did was, when we applied to MSBA, for those of you that were on the roof with us, you saw, that section that we were on, that's like section A. The B section is the modulars. We logically think as a school department, like, if we're here doing the roof, the, 2,000 square feet that is the modulars, like, it makes total sense to do that. We would have to bear that cost fully. We wouldn't get 40 cents on the dollar for that. And so that's, MSBA won't cover that, but we think it'd be silly not to do it, right? They're going to be here with the trucks and the machines and everything else. Like, let's just get that done. Once we finish this roof, and we finish the roof at Cole, we don't have to worry about roofs in the Tri-Town for another 15 to 20 years, which is a huge facilities accomplishment for sure. So we've gone through all of this. Our commencement date for the project here was on November 1st. And so this compliance document, the 34-page thing, that's due to them by January 30th of 2025, so we have time to go through that. We have to send them all the maintenance and capital work that Steve and his team has done on the roof over the years to, maintain it. That's required by January 30th, 2025. I don't know if I said 28 there. 2025. Local authorization for schematic design funds. Again, Middleton forward thinking. At the last town meeting, we approved $300,000. The town approved $300,000 for us to enter into this process, so we'll just get them a copy of that vote. And then that's due January 30th, and then the vote authorization of schematic design funds is also due March 1st. So we have some runway on this, but it was a good kind of kickoff meeting with MSBA. We have a similar one for Cole School and Boxford this week to go through the exact same process. But again, fortunate to be in the program. Really good opportunity for the town to, continue to take care of its assets in terms of our school buildings, for sure. And I'll keep you guys tuned in on that as we continue to go down that road. But some basic paperwork that's due was really the next step.
So have they assigned an OPM?
Not yet.
They haven't. And so we had the 300, thinking it would probably be 250, that we left that little wiggle room. So do we have a number yet, or no?
We do not.
Okay.
No, but we did ask them that question on the phone. When we were on the phone with them, we asked them, we've got 300,000, is that like enough to get in the game? Like, anyone worried? And they seemed to think like, nope, you guys are good.
You're good,
You're
okay.
good to go. You've got enough to, there was no like,
Yeah.
we got a problem.
Yeah,
There was
okay.
none of that.
Okay.
So I think they felt confident in MSBA, and that'll get us through like OPM, design,
Yeah.
all those pieces.
Sure.
And then I think the way Steve and I have talked about it is we would be going to possibly town meeting in '26 for the full allotment of like, here's what it's going to cost, and then summer of '26 would be the opportunity to strip the roof, put the new roof on, and be done with the whole endeavor, hopefully over the course of 3 months. So, yeah. These MSBA projects, it's interesting. Like, they call it an accelerated repair program, but by the time all is said and done, it's like a 5-year project. From like, last year we submitted the SOI, now we can do all the paperwork, it'll be town meeting '26, the roof will go on, and then there's a whole lot of follow-up paperwork, so it really goes from like 23 to, maybe 4 years, 23 to 27. But again, really good opportunity for us, so I'll keep you guys tuned in on that as we continue. If it's okay with the chair to roll into policy?
Yes.
Great.
We haven't done this in a while.
No,
It's
I know.
Very exciting.
Exactly, very exciting,
Can't
yes.
wait to waive BGB.
Okay, perfect.
It is fun.
The first thing we would need, will be that in a second, we'll need to update WAVE BGB, which is the policy on how we make policies. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 in the drive. You'll see a folder titled Policies. Dave is your policy rep, along with Candace in Topsfield and Aisha in Boxford. So we had a meeting. We went through the MASC recommended policy updates. What is in front of you is what that group of people who serve as your policy representatives agreed with. And so the first thing, if it's okay with the chair, that we would need would be a motion to waive BGB, which is in the drive in the event anyone wants to read it, but it's certainly something we have done a million times before.
I will make a motion to waive policy BGB.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor of waiving BGB, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
All right, so we'll have to approve these one by one. Dave and I will take you through any updates or questions you may have. The first one is GCA. If you double-click on that, this is around professional staff positions. It was just really a slight change that any staff positions that are created, we would let the school committee know and what the reason is for that position. Each time a new position is established by the committee or an existing position is modified, that little red underline is only changed. The superintendent will present a job description for the position, which specifies the job roles, qualifications, and so on and so forth. So anytime we add a new position, we certainly do that. We haven't really modified anyone over the years, so that we've not had to employ that. And so really, it's just that red line update about or an existing position is modified. The policy group agreed with that, and so we'll be looking for a motion to approve GCA as presented.
I'll make a motion to present GCA as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor of approving GCA as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Thank you, everybody. The next one is GCBA, which is professional staff salary schedules. And so what they've done there is they've taken the administrator section and they've put that with principals and administrators on individual contracts. So there's a teacher section. The school committee will adopt a salary schedule as part of the contracts negotiated with the bargaining unit. That hasn't changed. Principals and administrator contracts, these are salaries that will be reviewed prior to July 1. School committee, with the advice of the superintendent, would establish levels of compensation. It's responsibility of the superintendent to present evidence to the committee to support recommendations. So we have done that over the years as we have navigated any individual contracts. If it's at the TTU level, it happens at TTU. If it's locally, it happens here. So basically, they took that administrative section, tucked it up with the principal section, updated it to reflect 2022, updated the cross-reference, and those were the updates to GCBA that were all agreed upon by our policy team. So we'll be looking for a motion to approve GCBA as presented.
I will make a motion to accept GCBA as presented.
I will second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay.
Thanks, everybody. IHBH, I'm glad the MASC folks are doing this. They're getting rid of like editorial comments in a policy where they really don't belong. And so you can see here for alternative school programs, there's no need to get into, some children have great difficulty coping with the conventional school program. Like, it's just all sort of editorial. It just gets into, the school committee will provide alternative education programs where these needs have been identified. So none of that language is changing. It's just the elimination of the sort of editorial comment at the beginning and then updating the source to be 2023 as opposed to 2016. And so this is what the policy group had agreed to, and so we'll be seeking a motion to approve IHBH as presented.
I make the motion to accept IHBH as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
IK, which they're now going to call IKAB, so that's one change. They're just renaming the, how they name it, IKAB.
Okay.
This is student progress reports. It's just changing everything to guardians, parents, guardians is the only change on this policy. So it's just updated in 2023. And anywhere where it said parents, it was parent guardians. So we're seeking a motion to approve IKAB as presented.
I'll make a motion to accept IKAB as presented.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
ILD, student submission to educational surveys and research. And so this policy speaks to no student shall be required to be part of any program, and then it speaks to all of the things that, you know, you would not survey kids on: political affiliations, psychological things, sex behavior, attitudes, illegal antisocial behavior, so on and so forth. The only change down the bottom is it eliminated the word "where practical," and it just says that the district will directly notify parents, guardians at the beginning of the school year and during the school year if there are going to be any surveys, analyses, or evaluations that are scheduled or anticipated. Parents, guardians have the opportunity to opt their children out of participation in any surveys, analyses, or evaluations. Students who are 18 or older can opt out on their own. This doesn't super apply to us. I would see this more like Masco, where like the YRBS, you ever heard of that, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey and things like that. It's a good policy to have on the books for sure, but it's just, instead of where practical, it's just, you will do this if there was any type of survey that was going out. So be seeking a motion to approve ILD as presented.
I'll make a motion to accept ILD as presented.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
You've seen IMG before. You approved IMG before. We got it to Topsfield. We approved IMG in Topsfield. When we got to Boxford, we just had some feedback on that. A member wanted to make sure that there was still a reference document. In the past, this document referenced, if you look in the second paragraph there, guidelines for animals in or on school grounds. It was like a CDC document. And so the Boxford member liked that it was referencing something CDC related, I guess, or, health animal related. And so that member had found guidelines for animals in school settings. That's that green wording that's in that second paragraph. And then if you go down to the bottom, you can see that it's in there. It's a CDC document, guidelines for animals in school settings. So the member just felt it was good that it was still referencing another document. It's not a massive change at all. So basically, you have already approved this policy. It was greatly shortened. And then the only addition is just adding in a link to a reference document for folks to look at. We're not bringing in wolves and bats and things like that, so that's good news for us. So really the only change here is adding in that CDC guidance document. And the policy group was in agreement to that, and so if it's the will of the committee, seeking a motion to approve IMG as presented.
I will make am I making a motion? Is that what you're doing? I'll make a motion to accept IMG as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay.
And then the last policy is another one that we have approved before. Antoinette and I were a little bit frustrated because you literally just approved this back in, I think, May 11th of 23. It was approved and accepted. Laws changed, and so around suspension, you can see the red there, unless specific reasons are documented as to why alternative remedies are unsuitable, or in cases where a student's presence would pose a specific documented concern, the principal shall not suspend or exclude a student until alternatives have been employed. So you have to make sure you're exhausting other avenues before moving to that. I think what's happening maybe sometimes across the state is it gets an overused endeavor. And then also engaging and implementing in models to re-engage students in the learning process. And then all the red about notice of suspension, the principal would notify the superintendent. Any suspension or exclusion, the principal, a designee of the school shall provide the student notice. So it's all about, how notification happens. There's a couple of other red edits along the way. As I said to the policy subcommittee, what I would say to you is this is all baked and rooted in law. And so it's one that, we wouldn't want to tweak it all because it's all very much rooted in law, particularly when you get down to the reference section. You can see that at the very bottom. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 legal references. So it's adding these red sections. The policy group was in agreement that we should make sure that this policy is completely aligned with the law and bring it to this committee as well. If it's the will of the committee, we need a motion to approve JIC as presented.
I make a motion to accept JIC as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay, very
Great.
good.
Thank you,
I
everybody.
believe that is it.
Thank you.
We don't have anything in the correspondence folder.
Correct.
Yeah. I didn't sign it.
Bills and payroll, did everyone have a chance to take a
I'll
look
sign
at
it.
it?
Yeah, we're gonna
I gotta sign it.
catch up here. I know, right?
Sign it. Sign it.
I think it's pretty short this month, just because there wasn't a lot of time in between our last two meetings. Can we move to approve these now, or do we need to wait till everybody signs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure everybody has had a chance to look at it.
Don't worry, we don't.
How many more policies do we have?
We have another, David and I and the team are meeting tomorrow, and I think after tomorrow, we're like good for a little while,
Well,
which is a win, because we've been after that for a while.
Show. Take me as I am. Last time was the same thing. Oh, really? I'm gonna ask her when we adjourn. 'Cause she's the ID.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the bills and payroll as presented? Oh, good.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, so now we're moving into executive session. So we need to make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining. We will be returning to open session just for adjournment. So I will make a motion to,
I'll second that motion.
okay, and we'll do a roll call. Jackie?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you, everyone.